Hi everyone, and welcome to my third project with the Allie Edwards Go Quarterly Scrapbook Kit. And so here are my little embellishments in a box. I'm going to do some stamping here. These are all from July Scrapbook by the Month kits through the years, and I'm not really sure which one I'm going to use yet. I also have a magnet here that I plan on using for my pocket page. My photos are cut to 2 inches by 2.5 inches to fit on each tag. They will go on the side of the tag with the sentiment at the bottom, and then on the other side I've done some printing of the state abbreviations and the dates that I visited, or that my boyfriend and I visited those states. I've also pulled from my stash several plastic circles in different sizes, all of them related to travel from previous travel kits. Probably going to use a phrase sticker, and there's a few other little doodads in there from my stash. So here's my original sketch. A little bit change up here, no large photo, but I am going to put a nice map on the left-hand side. I will use this printed digital as well, and I'm still deciding between these two particular papers. So we'll see what happens. I am going to have some vellum that I will use to make some pockets. And then this here is a map from the digital Allie Edwards US map stamp set. And you'll see how I'm going to color those in. I also went ahead and actually made a cut file with the different states that I'm going to be coloring in order to be able to use ink to color each state. And you can also go ahead and just fill these states in with color before you print the map, but I wanted to have a little bit of fun. You will see here that I had to reprint my map because I did not do it from edge to edge, so it was not quite the right size. I realized that after I had already colored in the map, so I am, you're already going to see here that I have a lot of inking on here, but I'll show you again so that you can see how I did that. Placing it over the state and kind of masking off whatever is around it. I just go ahead with my little foam daubers and I put each cutout over each state and just kind of go through and use different colors. Some of the ink choices here, all of them are the oxide inks, Distress Oxide from Tim Holtz, Ripe Persimmon, Shabby Shutters, Mustard Seed, Festive Berries, Salvaged Patina, Twisted Citron, Carved Pumpkin, Wilted Violet, and Broken China. So I used a different color for each state that we visited. And hopefully going forward as we move through life, I'll be able to go ahead and add different colors for additional states that we may visit in the future. So that's why I didn't really put any dates on this map, and you'll see what I'm going to do here. I ran this page after I blended the ink on it through the printer to add the words or the abbreviations for the states. So those things kind of are a little brighter on top of the blended ink. Originally was going to use the blue paper, changed my mind to the circle arrow paper. So I'll trim the edges off of the map so that the 2 pages match in height, which is usually about 8¼ inches, give or take a tiny bit. So once I get those two together, I will go ahead and punch my holes in them so that I can begin to assemble my pocket. And so we will start by cutting down the vellum once again to 7 inches by 8¼ and then I'm going to go ahead and cut that vellum in half. So that would take me to about 3.5 inches down the middle there. And then I will trim about 3/4 of an inch off of both of those pieces of vellum. And you'll see how I'm going to put them on top of the paper so that there's a space between them and also a little space at the top. I will use a very tiny amount of adhesive just to hold these in place because I'm going to run them through my sewing machine. And I don't want that to move while I'm sewing because me and my sewing machine, we have a love-hate relationship. And so today was a good day. My sewing machine cooperated very well, and I was able to run everything through nicely. That's the outside, and then here is the bottom of the top pocket. So there you have it. I have 2 pockets now, and I am going to go ahead and start to assemble my tags. The photos are going to go on the one side, so I just have to match them up together with the particular state that each photo is from. So just using some adhesive, I'm going to go ahead. You see I have all of the photos marked on the back. Most of them I knew when they were from because I have the memories, but just so I didn't make any errors, I just took a Sharpie and I just went ahead and marked on the back of those. I had a couple pictures from some of the states that we visited because we had gone there more than once, and I waited to see which photo I wanted to use, and then the other ones I will just put away in a little folder in case I need photos for some other spread or layout that I'm going to be doing. Once I'm done putting all of the photos on there, just making sure they all fit in the pockets, and again, not putting them in any particular way, but getting them in there so that I can move on to the next step of my process. I will punch the holes out here as well because the vellum is covering the original holes that I punched. But my next step is going to be to go back to the map. So my plan for this map is to put a fold in it and use this as the outside of the fold. So let's trim this down. I printed it out 3 3/4 inches wide by 8 1/4 inch tall, not knowing how big I wanted my flap to be. But I think I decided on the flap to be about 3.5 inches. So I just, tiny piece of the corner is going to come off there. I'm sorry, a tiny piece of the side. But before I do that, I decide that I'm going to score my map and then use that as a guide for trimming that top paper. And I think that would match a little bit better. So let's go ahead and adhere that piece on the outside, or I guess the back side of the map now, which is now the front. And then I'll go ahead and be able to trim it. You'll see that I trim a little bit, tiny bit off the top there, and then I go ahead and flip it over and I trim that little bit extra off the side. So now this is what it looks like before it's open. And I want to stamp something in the bottom part of the G. So I pull out my stamps and then I change my mind and decide let's do the circles first. So here are all my plastic circles, and I'm going to place them in different places on the map and put another plastic circle on top of each of the larger plastic circles. So I'll fiddle a little bit here with the different circles and their placements, going back and forth. Well, you know, which ones do I want where? I did remember this time to peel off that protective coating that sometimes I have actually forgotten to peel off. So that sometimes takes a little bit for me to get off, but it wasn't too bad today. Once I figure out where I want them to go, I will use a little bit of adhesive just to keep them in place temporarily. And then I'm going to use my tiny attacher to staple those to the spread. I will go ahead and do the same thing for the top, placing it with some adhesive, doing the same for the smaller one, trimming it off, and then once again using the tiny attacher. And then I'm going to stamp on the outside. So I think this was the July 2018 Scrapbook by the Month kit. I choose the phrase Travel Stories, and I use the ink that's called Barn Door. So I choose to use some red here, and always do a test stamp, and I'll stamp that between, in that circle in the G. Then I go back and forth between which stamp I want to use underneath. And I finally decide on the one that says, Bring on the Adventures. And again, I pick out another ink. This is a blue one. I think this one was Broken China. Do some test stamping, ink it up, and there you have it. So I'm happy with the way that turned out. I think it's kind of cool. I like the colors on the black and the white. I think that's kind of fun. So here's the biggest plastic circle, and you'll see what I'm going to do here is I am going to go ahead and adhere these two lightly together and then staple them as well. And I pull out these magnets that I've used in past videos. They're pretty strong. So one of them is going to go directly on the back of this plastic circle, and then what I'll do is I will take the other piece or the other magnet and I will actually place it on the back of the layout. And so because I know I want that circle to be directly in the middle of the page on the front, I will do some measuring, mark the middle of the back of the spread, and then put that magnet on the back side. So it's hidden, you can't see it, but yet it still keeps that circle in place. I've done this a couple times, and I don't know, I like using magnets when I can, and it makes that removable so that you could pull the tags out. I think I added a star by Travel Stories, and now I'm loading all of the cards back in and putting the plastic piece on top. So there is my finished spread. And of course, the date has to come at the end. That's natural. Once I'm done and I do finish recording, I make the decision to go ahead and add just a few other little things to this before I call it done. And so when I show you the photos next up, you'll see that I added a few more chipboard stars. And then I also went ahead and put some of these metal clips on the tags. And these metal clips I found, oh gosh, I have no idea how long ago they were from, probably 15 years. But I found them in my stash when I was cleaning this week. So I added these little metal clips to the top of each tag. So there's the chipboard. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks for sticking around, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.